Ibashe Eshu Odara, Ibashe Eshu Elegba, Ibashe Eshu Leroye, Ibashe Baba Eshu. This is your brother, Capra Bata, also known as Falowo Fayemi. Today, we're going to do a video on Eshu, the spirit of choice, communication, and transformation. Eshu is one of the 400 plus 1 beings called Irumole. He is of the Yoruba pantheon, where his tradition emerges out of Ketu in Nigeria, but has spread to many parts of the diaspora, including the Caribbean, Cuba, Brazil, and of course the US and so forth. Therefore, Eshu plays a major role in traditions of Isheshe, Lukumi, Santeria, and Vodun included. The name Eshu is translated to mean gatherer of a great multitude, yet in all irony, it is Eshu that gives us the discernment to tell what form and definitions we give a thing. Words are our thought in the form of sound, even if it's written down. But it must be understood that words are segregating by nature, and if one relies solely on their intellect, words can work against us. One popular name for Esu Elegba, or one popular name is Esu Elegba. Elegba is said to mean the owner of vital power, and this is because Eshu is power and must be approached if you wish to partake in such power. And it is said those who befriend Eshu can have anything they desire. Eshu is clever, yet Elegba is wise. Eshu and Elegba are the same being, however, Eshu is contradiction, as well as the divine paradox. The best way to define a paradox is a phenomenal truth, which appears to be made up of contradictions. A paradox can be a statement that is both true and false at the same time, or something that appears as a solid truth, yet leads to contradictory conclusions. Eshu is said to be both the youngest and the oldest. It is also said that Eshu is so big that he can fit inside of a walnut. Yet Eshu also gives us a clue to the nature of the universe, in which we understand the idea of fractals, and that the universe itself is made up of larger parts that break down into self-similar parts, which fits into the theory of the holographic universe, where every part contains the whole. So when Eshu came to Earth, he became an Orisha. The Orishas are somewhat like angelic beings. They are the forces of nature that govern creation on our world. And in some schools of thought, the Orishas have different roles. And it's said that Eshu has 21 roles, but in fact he shows up with a different attribute in all 256 of the patterns, which are the stories of existence known as Odu in a tradition of Isheshe and Ifa, as well as those who are Awos and Babalaos who practice Ifa. These patterns are what is utilized by the diviner, who is casting for the individual or looking into a circumstance. Yet there is not one situation where you will not find Eshu lurking around the corner. Even though he may have what appears to be a very playful nature, his lessons can be quite serious. Eshu's colors are red, black, and sometimes black and white. His numbers are 3, 7, and 21. Devotees often put him and his paraphernalia behind the door, where he takes the form of a legba and protects the home. He is often given candy, toasted corn, cola nuts, fish, and possum or rat, along with cigars, whistles, and toys, and that's just to name a few things. Eshu, he just about eats anything. There's some things that you might not want to give him, but that's for another story. So he can be received in the form of a cement head with cowrie shells for his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, a stone found in nature, or a coconut, which is often used by the uninitiated. Eshu is often received with 2 other Orishas. These are Ogun and Ochosi. These 3 make up the warriors whose job is to protect the devotee from harm coming from circumstances or other people. But also, Eshu opens the door of communication. Ogun clears the path, and Ochosi hits the target with swiftness. These three warriors not only protect us, but they also increase the power of our focus of intent. But we will talk more about the warriors soon, family. Speaking of such, every Orisha is connected to their own form of Eshu. Rather, it is Eshu Laroye for Oshun, Eshu Ojapa Ajapa for Shango, Eshu Oke for Obatala. For example, in Ifa himself, we see that there is the connection to Eshu Odara. And in Ifa, according to Ifa, all Eshus are born from Eshu Odara. But Eshu is the divine messenger, as well as the Orisha that opens and closes the way. The Orishas are spiritual forces who are the emissaries of the Supreme Being known as Olodumare. Olodumare breaks down to mean the owner of the everlasting patterns or containers of creation that constantly moves forward. Olodumare bestowed Eshu the honor of being his messenger. It is Eshu that makes it possible to communicate with the other Orishas, because not only is he the master of all languages, Eshu converts human language into the language of the Orishas and also gives us permission to direct the cosmic forces that maintain creation. So Eshu gives us the ability to communicate with cosmic forces that are spiritual beings operating as the intelligences behind the forces of nature. Through rituals and voice command, we can activate events to take shape in the world, and it's through the power of the word that things can be brought into manifestation. This is Ofuwashe, the power of the spoken word. This is why we must be careful of the very things we utter, because Eshu is always listening, and our tongue can either make us or break us. That's right. Even our conversations that we have with ourselves, let alone those we have with others, are not too different from prayers that can be heard and picked up by Eshu at any moment. And this is why Eshu loves gossip. It is said that Eshu has much fun with gossipers. Gossip brings forth confusion, distrust, and division, and Eshu loves exposing those who are involved in the gossip. So Eshu also is known to bring confusion towards us when we attempt to cheat the laws of the divine, aka Olodumare. It is important to speak truth, let alone your truth. Eshu helps us to do so. When we speak and live our truth, we have more ashe to create and bring the desired results we wish to see in life come into manifestation. Eshu is the spirit of communication, and when we see two people saying the same thing but arguing with each other, is because they fail to actually listen to each other, and this is an Eshu situation. Eshu exposes society's illnesses in order for them to be treated, but we cannot treat them if we fail to acknowledge them, and this is what makes Eshu the master teacher. He teaches us by creating the circumstances around us where lessons must be learned. Thus we find ourselves at the crossroads. By working with this Orisha, your communication with others can be made a whole lot smoother. However, if there is a disconnect with you and Eshu, you will discover that the words you utter may not make sense to the other person, or the words they say you may not understand either. This is an indication. Eshu Osemio. Eshu, do not confuse my words. This is an indication that the power center in the throat needs to be energized. This and what you need to do to work with Eshu is often revealed to you because you're led to these things in life. For those who are interested in communicating with Eshu, we'll talk about that a little later. But just remember, Eshu is necessary. Eshu can bring balance to one's perception. It takes a balanced mind to be able to see both sides of an argument and understand that both parties could actually be correct from their own perspective. In a Lukumi perspective, the form of Eshu that is known as Elegba has been tamed by the energies of Obatala and can actually live inside of one's house without bringing chaos into the mix. Eshu Elegba is said to have been present at the beginning of creation itself. So like Orumala, the prophet of Ifa, and the spirit of divination, Eshu was also there to witness the beginning of creation as well. for he is not limited to time and space. The universe and your DNA is voice activated, for it all deals with frequencies and vibrations. In fact, frequency is the rate of vibration, like a sound wave. For instance, it's usually measured by seconds. These vibratory rates pervade the electromagnetic field in which we are all a part of. People are constantly sending out frequencies and vibrations, and it's important for us to understand what we're sending out because it can affect not only our lives, but our environment. It is with this help that your prayers and requests are heard. This is because Eshu's ability to take your words and deliver the frequencies and vibrations based on the intent of the words being uttered. Eshu intensifies this ability, and he makes it so that we can actually talk to any force in the universe as long as he is appeased. Eshu takes our messages from Ekoli Aye, that is the earth realm, to Ekoli Orun, the source realm, or some may call it the heavenly realm. Hence we call Eshu the divine messenger. Not only does he have the ability to travel between time and space, but also dwell in a place between time and space. Eshu is also called Elegba, which is a conglomeration of Ella Agba, meaning the power of strength. In this regard, Elegba is the owner of power. In fact, he made sure all the other divinities are kept on task. And in this way, the universe continues to function properly. People call Eshu the trickster, and that may stick to an extent, but it's not all the way accurate. Unlike the devil, people commonly know in the West, Eshu is not lusting after your soul in an attempt to get you to stay with him for an eternity of suffering without any further redemption. Eshu presents us with choices. It is up to us to make the right choice, but at times we suffer when a part of us know that we're making the wrong choice, but we proceed to do it anyway. Eshu will often go along with us until we ourselves run into a brick wall, especially if we're going against our purpose. Eshu is actually here to assist us to stay on track and be in line with our destiny. In reality, Eshu allows us to trick ourselves when we don't do that. So, I say once again, he is not the devil as described in Abrahamic faith. Eshu is the keeper of doors and roads, as well as the crossroads. He presents us with options and can open doors to other possibilities and different outcomes with a conundrum of realities and dimensions. The streets and the crossroads are known to be the dwelling places of Eshu, and they are like the neural links within a brain. However, they take the form of the streets within cities where people live and operate. Remember, Eshu is the central nervous system of creation itself. He is the central nervous system of existence. So, the crossroads and the streets is like the brain operating and information being sent to different parts of the brain and the body. I mentioned earlier that Eshu also represents those who dwell in the streets. People who are homeless are identified with Eshu because they are no longer living by the norms or the rules usually enforced by the common social order. The crossroads themselves are not only symbolic for the time in our lives where we have to make decisions, but they're also portals where objectivity and subjectivity interact. They are gateways between this realm and the spiritual realm. The streets, with its many crossroads and interactions and intersections, are examples of the transient nature of being. Eshu, in the form of Odara, is transformation. For it to be so, we must understand the perpetual state of becoming, including coming to the stage of the ultimate transition we call death. We must understand that nothing is permanent here except change and constant change. Yes, there's the form of Eshu, also known as Eshu Onibode, that deals with our coming and going in our earthly existence. Eshu, in this form, is said that before we take our journey to Ekoli Aye, the earth, we go over what our life is going to be like and the things that we're going to go through. And after we go to the transition of death, Eshu Onibode is waiting where we encounter him again, but this time we go over whether or not our mission is complete. And did we do what we say we were going to do? Did we keep our promise in our dwelling on earth? In fact, in many cases, death, also known as Iku in the Yoruba language, is said to be one of the warlords, the Ajagun that serves Eshu. Following behind death is sickness, loss, legal issues, financial struggle, and so forth. These warlords can wreak havoc in our lives if Eshu is not pleased, yet we all encounter them at some point in our lives. Eshu is said to have an instrument called the ogo or the garabato. He uses this instrument to open a hole in the fabric of time and space and can travel where and whenever in time and space he wishes. Eshu defies locality. He can be everywhere at once. He reminds us that reality is not static, but fluid, not fixed, but ever-changing, as you can take any form, because we're all energy. Well, this is what Eshu shows us. He takes any form at any time, and since he is not bound by the rules of this reality, his powers are unlimited. Eshu dwells in a space between dimensions, the space between subjective and objective reality. He is the Lord that transcends all dimensions, yet holds them together. Eshu is the Lord of the interdimensional travel. He can be found in all the depths and the heights, and all that holds our realm together, yet at the same time transcending all of them. In the beginning, while form was manifesting, it began with a point, and this point divided into 2 points that align with a third point that would include 2 more points leading to the first enclosed shape in the form of the triangle. The main number of Eshu is 3, and the triangle is considered to be the first complete shape because it has 3 points, 3 lines, and 3 angles. The universe could not function or exist if it wasn't for the past, present, and future, the right, the left, and the middle. And when it comes to the family, the 3-part family, which is the mother, the father, and the child, the proton, neutron, electron, and even in Eastern tradition when it comes to how to cultivate the life force with the Sushumna, the Ida, and the Pangala, in which the part of our being that is cultivated, allowing for the raising of the life force energy. Yes, our world operates in 3s, and it is vital to our very existence. And 3 is the number that is utilized to summon Eshu the most. To contact the female aspect of Eshu, you'll see that there is what is called the 3-section roads, known as the T-section. The masculine energy dwells at the 4-section road, aka the Crossroads. The 4-section road represents the cardinal points, and it is the 4-section road where the male energies are said to be fed. However, Eshu transcends gender. Eshu transcends male and female. Eshu is both and neither. It is the 4 cornered points or cardinal points that deal with the 4 elements, which are actually the 4 functions that take place as a movement in the universe and is embodied in the first 4 Odu of Ifa. We can acknowledge Eshu by leaving sweets, toasted corn, and cigars at the crossroads. Eshu wants to teach us. And if you're interested, Eshu will teach you. And it is your destiny to know. He will gladly do so. With that, family, I'm going to wrap this up. We're going to have more videos on more Orishas. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to make a request, feel free to leave a comment. I hope each and every one of you have a beautiful, nice, and productive day. Adabo.